Hello and welcome to another episode on the Everyday Joy podcast. This is episode 149 and we can look forward to the deep dives next week. Hey, over on the Everyday Joy Facebook community, I asked the question, what 3 words describe how you feel after listening to one of these episodes? And it's just been remarkable to see what different people feel after they listen. Melissa said inspired, encouraged, comforted. Monica said comforted, seen, normal. Andrea said encouraged, understood, enriched. And Peter says blessed, peaceful and encouraged. I really feel like the word encourage keeps popping up. And if there's a topic or conversation that has encouraged you, or a topic or conversation that you want to hear more of that would be an encouragement, I would love to hear from you. The email is in the inbox below. Right now though, let's get into today's conversation.
2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 16, the G&T. Keep away from profane and foolish discussions, which only drive people further away from God.
I have got Jenny here in studio with me. Hello, Jen.
Hi, how you going?
I'm doing good. I'm so sorry. I feel like this studio might be giving you a little bit of PTSD. Probably looks like your house at the moment. So I'll explain to you listening if you can't, obviously you can't see what's going on, but the studio we usually record in is currently going through a bit of a makeover. Yeah. But it's in that awkward in-between stage where there's just a lot of boxes and stuff everywhere, which is probably similar to your home environment right now, Jen.
Yeah, it is. We're surrounded by boxes, surrounded by unfinished furniture. We can't find the screws. It's been 2 years.
No!
So we're going through all the boxes. Literally every single box is unboxed. And like, where are these screws? And they're tiny little screws.
You can't find them like at other shops or anything? Or is it more like a pride thing? It's like, well, they're there somewhere. We will find them.
No, I wish it was a pride thing. I just want it done. I just have like a desk sitting there in the corner. I'm like, I could be using you, but I'm sorry.
Oh gosh, dining table for now, I guess.
Yeah, I guess for now.
Yeah, it is tough moving, and we are still unpacking, and it's quite. I think people don't talk enough about how unsettling it is to move all your belongings, trying to set it into a new place, and you've got a little one as well in the midst of all of this. How's Chelsea doing with the new change?
I don't really know because she's just playing with everything and everything. When I say everything, it's that knife over there as well that we've left.
Oh, and maybe the screws. Maybe she's the one who's hidden them away.
Probably has. Or maybe my cat. So put a cat in the mix of that with all the boxes. Her heaven, my nightmare.
Oh, I feel for you. Feel for you, Jen. But so glad to have you here in the studio.
Thank you.
Because guaranteed there's someone who can absolutely relate with what you're saying. 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 16. Keep away from foolish and profane discussions, which only drive people further away from God. What are your first impressions of this one, Jen?
Well, the first word that came up to my mind when I read this verse was the word tea. Well, it's not drinking tea. It's that slang, spill the tea.
Oh, yeah.
Or what's the dirt or the gossip or the insider knowledge. Because our world is obsessed with just knowing everything or knowing the goss. And so this verse, it just tells me that, these discussions, these chats about other people or getting to know the know will pull away from God, and I don't want that for anyone.
Yeah, it's interesting how you say. I think I saw literally a billboard for a tea company, like an actual tea bag company that I think has been around for like decades, and they had a brand new billboard that said "Spill the tea." I was like, wow, even you guys are getting on board with it. Wow. But I so agree because personally, and maybe this is another topic for another podcast episode, but I have also felt the brunt of rumours circulating and gossip, and it's really hard because you can't defend yourself. I think that's the thing that really gets to me, and that's what I love about this verse. It actually puts the responsibility on the people having the conversations. It's saying keep away from conversations that could potentially be quite destructive to someone else who's not in the room, or even planting ideas and things that aren't really going to benefit anyone anyway. So,
it's very toxic.
Yeah. What does this verse tell you about who God is or what matters to him?
I can see that God values the quality of our discussions, that he wants us to talk from facts and not from fake news or what we make believe or what we might think. And there's so many other verses in the Bible that confirms this, like Proverbs 16:28. A perverse person stirs up conflict and a gossip separates close friends. I mean, if it repeats in the Bible, it's going to be a strong thing that God wants us to remember.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, when you think about the life of Jesus, he had 12 disciples and so many other people following him all throughout his life. And when you look at the words that Jesus spoke, he didn't do this. He kept away from profane and foolish discussions. He modeled that for us as well. And I mean, there must have been a lot of tea when you think about like all the different people gathering, all their stories, all their backstories. But Jesus didn't care. He was like, I am not going to waste my words on things that are just going to divide people.
Yeah.
Has there been a time in your life, Jen, when this verse has come to life?
It has, and it's a very sad story. So this is my father-in-law's side of the family, and he's one of 10 siblings. But they, unfortunately, the siblings, they all bicker, and they actually go over to each other's houses, or they call each other and they'll say, do you know so-and-so have said this about you? Or do you know so-and-so did this to you? And because of this, Mum and Dad don't really have a good relationship with Dad's siblings. And because of that, we don't have relationships with their cousins. Or with our cousins, sorry. And it just means that people who might walk past me, they might be a cousin, but I wouldn't know that because I don't really know them. I see them maybe at a wedding or a funeral, but that's about it. And even when we do see each other at a wedding or funeral, I'll be like, hi.
And I guess that must be really challenging for you, knowing that you could have all those relationships, you could have all these amazing people in your life, but you can't actually have that because you can't trust what people are going to say about you behind closed doors.
Yeah, and it all comes down to the fact that it started in the top generation and it's flowed down to our generation.
Right.
And now it's going to flow down to Chelsea as well. I can't even have a birthday party with that whole entire family, with my dad's mum. And I want to celebrate with them, but it's so incredibly hard to act around them or to even meet up with them.
And I think it really is something a lot of people can relate to, just the fractures in family and then the dividing and all of that. And it's a real grief as well. Like, I've got my 30th birthday coming up and nowhere near on the same scale as you, but I'm already like, all the people I really want to celebrate with live in another country. And it's just a little bit like, well, what do you do then? And when it comes to big milestones like Chelsea's birthday or you're moving house, you might have a housewarming soon, you start to think about those sorts of things and who can you celebrate the good parts of life with. And when you have situations like yours, it can be a really tough place to be.
Yeah, and it's all because of gossip. It's because of what happened in that generation that's flown through to us. So even with the family breakdown, like I fall into the trap of gossiping, but I just need to remember, like, this is what God told us. We can't do this because it can divide family, and I've seen it.
As we come to the end of today's episode, I think you and I know intuitively that gossip isn't good. 2 Timothy 2:16, keep away from profane and foolish discussions which only drive people further away from God. And gossip comes under that. But here's the thing, although we know it in our heads that gossip isn't good, I think what Jen's story reflects is the generational damage it can cause. She also touched on the fact that this is mentioned a few times in the Bible, and I think that's because God knows of the devastating impact it can cause. Because when someone gossips about you, it's a double whammy because you lose faith and trust in that person, but you also begin to lose value and lose faith in yourself. If people are saying all of these things about you, right, it must be true. And you kind of just fall into a real deep, dark pit if you are the recipient of people gossiping about you. I hope that today you can hold your head up high knowing that there is a God who loves you and who will defend you. And if there's areas in your life that you need to work on, well, go on that journey, but don't let other people define who you are. That's been something we've been talking about a lot recently on this podcast. Now, if you are someone who tends to talk about other people and tends to do all of those things in the name of verbal processing, in the name of just hearing your thoughts on this, we can put whatever label we want on it. But I want to share with you a hard-hitting quote from a former First Lady, Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "Great minds discuss ideas. Average minds discuss events. Small-minded people discuss people." So if we took a little audit of everything you've been saying over the last 48 hours, what kind of mind do you have based on what you talk about? I know it's a challenging one today, but bearing in mind the damage and destruction gossip caused in Jen's family, I think we actually need to be a bit hard-nosed in this area. And if you need to ask God for forgiveness, if you need to get some friends to hold you accountable, do what needs to be done. Because it's not just you who gets hurt in the process. You could be hurting many around you and many to come. Well, that wraps up today's episode on the Everyday Joy podcast. Jen is going to be back again next week. And if you want to head over to the Everyday Joy Facebook group, there's a great follow-up conversation happening there.